Please welcome in the CFL on TSN's Paul LaPolice on a very, very exciting weekend in the CFL, Lapo. By the way, congratulations on TSN having its highest rating since 2019, we learned today. I got to think that's because of you, bro. What else would it be?
I think it's about great football. Really good quarterback. And right now, the West is who knows who's going to win the West. So I think it's competitive football. The games have been great. Down to the last 3 minutes of almost every game this season. So it's really fun to see how good it is and enjoyable for people across the country.
Yeah, and the stands are packed. The ratings are high. So we focus on the positive. That's positive. That's what we prefer to do here. And I got to ask you this. We got 4 great games. Is there one that stands out more to you? Maybe not just because you're doing it, but like the game of the week out of these 4? Because they're all good.
Well, I do think the BC Ottawa game's going to be a lot of fun to see, the rebound game for BC back at home. Ottawa's got to go across the country. It'll be neat to see, this, touchdown Atlantic used to be. Now we have a touchdown Victoria. So I'm looking forward to watching that game. But really, the one I've been prepping for and getting ready is the Labor Day Classic. I feel like there's no better example of how great our league can be than that Rider Bomber game. The fans, the excitement, just everything about that game, the leading up, the traveling fans going over from Winnipeg. I just love that environment. It's the closest thing to like SEC football, big time football, I think, in our league.
Yeah, and the Riders, I know you coaches don't get into the point spreads and stuff, but it's just an indicator for me. The Riders are favored by 2.5 at covers.com. I'm a little surprised since they're winless in 5. Bombers have turned their season around. Why do you think the Riders would be favored?
Well, just because it's so hard to win on Labor Day. I was going through my prep for the game this weekend, and I played there. I had 8 times there as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber. I won twice. And the biggest loss I had was I was 7-1 during the season. They were 1-7, fired Greg Marshall. Ken Miller came in, and we were supposed to destroy him. There was a billboard that says our friends in Saskatchewan are backwards because opposite records, and we turned the ball over a ton and got beat. So it's really hard to win on the road in Saskatchewan in the Labor Day Classic.
You were also battling the return of Ken Miller.
Yes.
There's football gods, that was a thing. Do you want to talk about Kenny? Because you were part of that 2007 team. We should get your thoughts.
Yeah, I talked to Maureen, his wife, last week. We had a good half an hour talk, and I'm sure there's going to be something that the Riders do for him before this game, which I think will be awesome. And I'm pretty excited to be calling this game, doing the color for this game, to be in the building when they do that. I lived with him when I got the job, and when I went over to the Riders, Coach Miller says, "Hey, stay in our basement." So I stayed in the basement, had breakfast with him and Maureen every morning before we went into work. He was just such an excellent individual. I thought he was a very intelligent football coach. Players respected him. Coaches respected him. He gave you notes all the time on, hey, maybe think of this, think of that, but he let you do your job. And I think people respected that. And if there was something going wrong, I remember one time he's like, they're saying I got to get more involved in the offense. We had like 1 or 2 bad games. And like, instead of what people are telling him, get more involved. He told me that. And then he's like, I'm going home earlier tonight. So just showed I have faith in you. You're going to work this out. So he was an unbelievable person to work for. I loved my experience with him.
It's like successful parenting. You got to do this on your own. I'm not going to do it for you, right? Speaking of parenting, your son had an ugly injury on the gridiron. Would you mind, if you don't mind, talking about that?
Yeah, so I'm helping with the Bell Warriors, which is a local area. The area we live in has a football club called the Bell Warriors, so we're playing that level of under 16. He's only 13 because he doesn't turn 14 for a couple of months in November. But he's on that team. He was a starting quarterback in our first game. He was sprinting to the left. He got turned back, and then two players banged into him and tackled him, and he broke his femur, which not the fibula, the femur, the biggest bone in your body. And it was just a horrible experience, horrible pain for a 13-year-old to go through that. So yeah, it was very difficult. We had to get him ambulance. The game was we called the game. There was 19-1 at the point with 3 minutes left. So got him in an ambulance, got him in the hospital. He had surgery, but he's doing very well. So thanks for asking. They nowadays they don't even put a cast on. So he has a rod in his femur and 2 screws on up top and bottom, and he's walking around on crutches. So hopefully we'll get him back next year. I keep trying to tell him, let's go next week. You can start practicing next week. But no, I think next season he'll be back at it.
Of course, and he'll come back stronger. You talk about Touchdown Pacific. I mean, again, all these games are great, but what do you think the additions of Nathan Rourke and now Matthew Betts are going to do for a team that's lost 5 in a row? Because I don't think anybody saw a losing skid like that coming for this team. The great couple.
One thing I think it might happen, they may go over the cap. But I don't. I
didn't want to.
You know what? I think that would be a trade-off if they make the Grey Cup when it's in their own park, that they might do. So they'll find ways to figure out that and down the road. They just want to get good players in the building. I think they're a good football team. They're going to be in the mix. They're going to get a better pass rush, obviously, with Matthew Betts coming back. But Nathan Rourke's got to find his rhythm. They look a little bit disjointed the last couple of games, but Nathan was so much better second game than the first game. So it'll be interesting. It's very hard for a team to come across the country and perform well. The thing they do lose is that huge crowd they would have had. So they're going to be a much smaller crowd. But I expect the BC Lions to be in it at the end. Like all these teams in the West should be in it at the end.
I should actually get your assessment of Nathan's play since coming back. His biggest supporters say he shouldn't have played so soon after signing in BC. What do you think?
It's the same system, same plays. And again, I could understand that rationale if it was Vernon Adams or Nathan Rourke, but I don't think anyone had a lot of faith in Jake Dolegala. So they said, let's start the process of getting Nathan as many reps as possible, game speed. So hopefully that helps him this week for them. So I think you got to play the guy, because Vernon Adams, different story. But when you got a quarterback who, I don't know, I think Jake Dolegala was 2-8 as a starter at the time. Go play Nathan, let him. Hopefully you can win. And again, don't forget they went against the Bombers. That's his first game. That's one of the best defenses in the Canadian Football League, and don't allow you to throw the ball very well. Like I'm just breaking them down and getting ready to do a YouTube video about their defense and how good they are.
Where can people follow your YouTube stuff, Lapo?
It's just YouTube, Paul LaPolice. So for the Rider game, I got 3 different Rider offensive ones I put out, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that's up there. And tomorrow I'll post probably 2 Winnipeg Blue Bombers, one on their defense, one on their offense. So, it just helps me do my prep. So as I'm watching all the film, getting ready, and it allows me to I just take notes and I keep a couple clips and then I put it out and show it to the fans. Fans seem to like the in-depth behind-the-scenes stuff. So I try to do that when I can.
There you go, folks. Look him up on YouTube, Paul LaPolice, and watch for him on Sunday. Safe travels, Lapo. Thanks for the chat, my friend.
Thanks, Rod. Appreciate it.